My sister Anne is the baby of the family. I have two older brothers and another sister. Anne moved away after college and only visits during holidays. We still call each other weekly and even Skype. Before I married my wife Liz, I was in a relationship with a woman who was an introvert. My entire family, including my sister-in-laws and brother-in-law, are all extroverts. We always have dinner at someone's home one day a week. Anne never had any problems with my then girlfriend. For unrelated reasons, we broke up and I met Liz. Anne had to move to abroad, and she missed the holidays and didn't come home for close to 2 years. She didn't even come to my wedding because she had a deadline. Liz's family is as big as mine, and she became a part of the family right from the start. Liz is what my brother calls her Pinterest cook. She will see a recipe on the net, and if she likes it, no matter if it is weird, she will want to cook it. Her cookings are usually hit and miss in the 60% hit range. She never minds when my brothers both make fun of her if her dishes fail, and equally make fun of them when they fail at something. Anne just moved back to our town, and she had dinner last night at my mom's. As usual, my wife made a variation of mac and cheese, which actually turned out to be a huge hit that even my mother, who is a traditional never change any ingredient cook, loved it and asked her for the recipe for it. I was talking to both my sister-in-laws, so I didn't see exactly what happened, but suddenly, all I heard was my sister screaming at my wife. When I went into the living room, one of my brothers had my sister behind him, shielding her, and the other one was dragging my sister, who was screaming obscenities at my wife, and my wife was in tears. I immediately left with my wife. All night, everyone has been messaging us asking if we want anything, but my wife felt she wasn't ready to face anyone, so we didn't reply. Today, in the morning, my parents came, and that is when I got the whole story. My sister thought everyone would be paying attention to her only and asking about her adventures abroad. None of us have ever been abroad. She felt out of place because we all seem so close and were having fun among ourselves. No one even bothered to check to see if she was upset. Before the blow-up, my brother told her to take it easy on the wine because she almost drank half the bottle, and that is when she accused him of flirting with my wife. He absolutely doesn't. And she accused my wife of really ugly things. My parents do not condone this behavior. They were here to apologize to Liz. The only thing they are asking me is to not confront my sister for at least a couple of days and allow them time to talk to her and have her apologize to Liz first. Liz doesn't want anything to do with my sister and just to drop the issue, and I completely understand why she feels that. However, I don't want to drop it. Anne completely disrespected my wife and everyone in the family. I know what my parents says makes sense, but I am feeling my sister will never understand the extent of hurt she caused unless I talk to her. My brothers and sister-in-laws have all decided to not talk to her until she apologized to Liz. Liz doesn't want to ever meet my sister again. Now, I am really confused as to whose wish I respect. Do I really let my parents handle it? Or do I talk to Anne myself and make her understand? I know I am too mad right now, and any third-person perspective will help. Leave your parents and siblings to deal with confronting your sister, and Liz to decide what the relationship will be post-apology. No apology, definitely no relationship. Your sister should not be welcome in your house until she apologizes, and even then, only if Liz is 100% okay with it. If I was you, I'd support my wife 100% by not attending any events your sister will be at, unless she wants to as well. Honestly, you are not the right person to talk to your sister, and will just make it worse for everyone to satisfy your own anger. Don't do it. Your role here is to have your wife's back, and that means respecting her wishes. I am the Anne of my family, without the outbursts. I've been abroad so long and go back so infrequently, not by design, just expensive, that I miss out on a lot. It's a very disconcerting feeling at first, but your sister's outbursts, I think, comes more from her demand to be the main star of the show. I know when I come back home it's going to be odd because family doesn't stand still waiting for me, and that's a realization all people abroad have to come to naturally. Your sister has gotten used to being the center of attention and having everyone dote on her like the prodigal child returned. Your previous introverted girlfriend did not blend into your family, so she was no threat. Liz is. Liz is taking the attention your sister believes is rightfully hers, and she lashed out. Support your wife. Let her direct the relationship, or lack of it. Your parents can address Anne's behavior. After all, her entitlement to being the center of your family's universe is what led you here. Beth has always been the golden child, and enabled by her parents every step of the way, often at the expense of my husband. As a child, that meant she got to pick every movie, she got double Christmas presents, etc. If she did not get her way, she would have a tantrum and her parents would give in. She is now an adult and her parents continued to treat her this way. While husband loves his sister, he also dreads going home for holidays or going on trips with his family because everything will be all about Beth and she will have adult tantrums that include screaming, throwing things, breaking other people's belongings, name-calling, wishing she was dead, threatening S, etc. Husband and I have been together 6 years. When he told me about some of these incidents, I had not seen them myself, except in very small doses, such as her parents rearranging their day to accommodate what she wanted for dinner, or her mom taking her on excessive shopping trips for no reason at all. We went on vacation with them around Christmas time, and I got to see all of these crazy behaviors firsthand. She had tantrums, screaming, crying, throwing things at my husband, wishing we were all dead, daily for 5 days, for not getting her way about the most minor of things. My 7-year-old daughter would not be allowed to act that way. I posted about this on relationships, and you all armchair psychologists unanimously agreed that she has borderline personality disorder. Anyway, flash forward to now. We have been no contact for 4 months. I am about 6 months pregnant with our first child together and their first grandchild. When they visited us on Easter, I showed mother-in-law the guest list from their side of the family and asked if I had not invited, all the right people to the baby shower. She added a cousin, removed a few family friends. When they were alone with husband the next day on the way to the airport, they told him he had to invite Beth to the baby shower. He said she had not apologized or gotten help for her mental health problems, so that would not be happening. Cue the guilt tripping. They want him to just forget all of it ever happened. He let me know that he does not want to expose my daughter or our son to that kind of toxic behavior. More of, you know how she is, and that she will never apologize. I decided to just cancel the shower altogether, but that upsets them more. They tell husband that they will make her apologize, and then we can invite her to the shower. It is also implied that she will now be invited to all sorts of holidays, visit after the birth of the baby, etc. They want us to just send out an invitation with no apology. I know how this is going to go. Everyone wants to just rug sweep this. I personally do not want to deal with this at all. I am pregnant with a high-risk pregnancy because of a chronic health issue, so I am already miserable. I don't want her at my baby shower. At the same time, I do not want to damage the relationship with husband's family. He talks to his parents daily, and they have done for us, from visiting and calling after my major surgery, traveling 6 hours each way for my daughter's birthday parties, and gifting us the down payment for our house. They are lovely people who have been very welcoming to me and supportive of my husband. Should I just let her back in to make them happy, or should we stick to our guns and wait for an apology that will never happen? Stick to your guns. You're only going to suffer more if you bring her back into your life, and enabling her by acting like nothing is wrong is just going to fuel the fire. If his parents are really that great of people, they will understand and support you. It might be a speed bump, but they should come around. What does your husband think about this? Does he want to forgive and forget or hold fast? Sure, they are great people, but when it comes to enabling their daughter, husband is always in the wrong and needs to be the bigger person because you know how she is. Background. Mother-in-law and I have always had a terrible relationship. She is a textbook narcissist, and other than her stepdaughter, Brandy, I am the only one who has ever dared to stand up to, go against her by doing more than watching TV after bedtime. I got pregnant when my now husband, let's call him Eric, shall we? And I were both 18. He was still in high school, But due to where my birthday falls in the year and many online classes, I was already 2 years out and close to finishing my associate's degree. Obviously, this only increased the tension. Brother-in-law, 25 male, has always been the golden child, and she has made that entirely too obvious with how she treats him versus Eric, me versus brother-in-law's wife, 24 female, Barbie, and now our son, 2 male, versus their son, 10 months, now called Henry. Mother-in-law has always gotten absolutely unbearable around Mother's Day, and she has made me just completely break down sobbing every year since I was pregnant, 2013. And I finally decided that I've had enough. A couple other facts that may be relevant. My mother passed away when I was 13, very unexpectedly, through some rather traumatic means. Mother-in-law knows throughout everything covered in this post, but does not have details to this day. Both of mother-in-law's parents passed away around the time she was having children, mid-30s. Mother-in-law had a terrible relationship with father-in-law's mother, who has since passed away, Grandma. Their issues go back at least as far as brother-in-law's birth, maybe further. When Eric's grandmother was still around, all she got on Mother's Day was a phone call from father-in-law, and maybe all the kids would stop by for an hour or so after lunch. She was never invited to lunch with us, never invited to the house afterwards, and generally excluded from all festivities because, according to mother-in-law, she was the grandmother, and grandmothers don't count on Mother's Day. They have Grandparents' Day for a reason. Just to give you an idea of the kind of person I am working with here. I never really got along with Grandma either, but by the time I came around, she was over 85 years old and irritable with the world about not being able to physically do everything she used to be able to do when Grandpa still could and was a year or two older. Onward to the stories of Mother's Days past. 2013. I was 6 or 7 months pregnant with son. I get screamed at by mother-in-law for over 10 minutes for daring to think I could count on her day. She even goes as far as to call me a W for getting pregnant while still in high school. Again, we're coming up on 2 years from when I graduated. Eric even gets lectured for getting me a Mother's Day card. I spent the overwhelming portion of the day sobbing because of how she is treating me, and Grandma gets her usual hour-long visit after we all go out to a big lunch celebrating mother-in-law. This will be the last year that Grandma is in the picture. 2014. I want absolutely nothing to do with mother-in-law after how she treated me the year before, but figured at least I would count because son was 10 months old and I was undeniably a mother. Mother-in-law spends the whole day wrapped up in her own head and demands to be waited on hand and foot now that she's the only mother in the family. She says this several times throughout the day, despite son being 10 months old and her stepdaughter, Brandy, having 2 children, around 6 male and 3 female at the time. When confronted, she goes on about how babies having babies doesn't mean you're a mother, and Brandy is spending the day with her mother, not mother-in-law. I once again run off crying because she once again turned it into a huge thing, like she tends to whenever the point is that I'm not good enough for her time. 2015. Son is now closed in on his 2nd birthday, and Barbie is 6 to 7 months pregnant with Henry. Mother-in-law actually gets me a card this year. Yay! But then comes out with a large gift basket for Barbie. We're talking a card, jewelry, all kinds of bath supplies, even some stuff for Henry after he's born, etc., etc., etc. Barbie's baby shower is about 2 weeks away at this point, but mother-in-law is so excited to become a grandma. After this, I run off and try to choke back tears, remembering everything that she said to me in 2013 about how pregnancy is not motherhood and all of that. When I come back into the room, she's just going on and on about how hard it is to not have her mother around anymore when she hasn't for the past 20 years or so. I comment on how she's right, it's not easy, just trying to have a conversation with this woman, and she rolls her eyes and makes some comment boiling down to, "Yeah, we get it. Your mom died and that sucks for you." And then says something along the lines of, "You were so young when it happened. How can you even remember her?" I was 13 when she died. There are plenty of you out there that are well over 21 years old that can remember a major life event from when you were 13, I'm sure. I just lose it and start crying. When I return to the room again, I just sit in silence until Eric finally says we can go. I have reminded Eric of all these stories and explained that's why I refused to go this year. If mother-in-law and father-in-law were doing something the day before, fine, whatever. But I will not be seeing her on Mother's Day under any circumstances, and son will be staying with me because I am his mother. I also told him there is going to be some serious issues in our relationship if he goes over there for the entire day, after how she's treated me in the past. He has simply said that I'm being ridiculous. We'll talk about it later. Don't be like that. And how I only want to see things get worse between us. Honestly, I just want her out of my life. I don't want things to get better or worse. Am I being ridiculous for refusing to go after how she has treated me in the past? Am I wrong for refusing to let son go with Eric when, in mother-in-law's own world, grandparents don't count? Edit. Mother-in-law is already blocked on my phone for about the past month, and I refused to go to brother-in-law father-in-law's joint birthday party last weekend, so everyone is kind of in a mood with me about that. Also, I know Eric is the big problem here. I'm also looking for advice and opinions on all fronts, not just with mother-in-law. You are completely in the right. Your husband needs to get on board. Why does he expect you to be abused and bullied by her? If he doesn't change his tune, then I would divorce him. Why did you marry him if he didn't have your back? Edit. Here's what I would ask him. Your mother calls me rude names, insults me, and purposely treats me worse than others. Do you not think I have a right to stand up for myself? If he says of course you do, then tell him. Well, then I decide to not go to her celebration. I am doing this to show her that she can't treat me badly and then expect me to show up to her events. If you go, then you are showing her she can treat your wife badly and you will still show up. Then I would ask, if you had a friend that called you names, yelled at you, and didn't like you at all, then I appease that friend and constantly choose him over you. Would that make you upset?